Oh, so welcome once again. Welcome, Daktari. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm well, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. How are you?
Very well. I'm grateful as always. I'm
I'm
so
honored to
happy to
be
see
here.
you. Yeah, come again.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much for this
Kar-
opportunity to have this conversation.
Karibu sana, karibu sana. I'm so happy, also and delighted to have this conversation, and I'm ready to learn so much from you.
I'm looking forward to learning too.
Awesome. So, welcome to Breakthrough with Jeff. This is the place we say we live life with zero limits, totally no limits. And there are no
Awesome.
limits apart from the ones we place ourselves. And so, thank you so much, our listeners, those that are watching on YouTube, Facebook. Karibuni sana. You are so welcome. And let's go straight into it. Please introduce yourself, Daktari, and then we will start the topic for the evening.
Thank you very much, Jeff. As I said, I'm quite honored to be here. It's a privilege to have an opportunity to have this conversation. My name is Dr. Preskilla Akoth Munda. I'm a clinical psychologist and a life coach. I'm also a lecturer at the university. So yes, that's who I am. Thank you.
Awesome. Oh, karibu sana. Karibu sana. I'm sure there are many people will benefit from today's rich conversation. And we are talking about relationships, intimacy, and mental health. This is key. I mean, it's like the oxygen of life.
Oh yes,
When we talk
indeed.
about relationships, you're talking about the oxygen of life. Without them, I mean, we just feel like we are not ourselves. But then with mental health coming in the place there, um, where would you like us to start?
Oh, we can start from anywhere, but maybe I would just say that human beings, we are wired for connectedness, and
Wow.
when we are not connected, when we are not connecting, we lack a lot and we miss out on a lot. So we are innately wired to connect to each other, and
Mm,
so when we connect well, it improves our mental wellness. So studies have
yes.
been done to find that show that when we are connected with others, our mental wellness improves, and when we are not connected with others, we may suffer some mental challenges or mental health challenges. Yes.
Interesting, interesting. In fact, I read somewhere that if a baby is born and totally separated from humanity, most of the time that baby will not survive.
Absolutely.
That baby will not. How about the guys that feel, me, I can do it all by myself. I don't need anyone. They will find that it doesn't work very soon, right?
No, it doesn't work well. There's definitely something lacking in them. Of course, in the spectrum of mental illness or mental disorders, we
Yeah.
have some disorders that push people away from the connectedness of other human beings, and they've been diagnosed as mental illnesses. And then even under general circumstances, when we become mentally unwell, for example, depression, one of the
Yes,
first things we do is we withdraw from other people. We don't
that's
want
true.
that connect.
That's
So it's
true.
one of the major signs of mental illness or being mentally unwell.
So, Dr. We should stop encouraging ourselves that we are okay. Should get help, eh? Because
It's been said, no man is
yeah,
an island. You cannot
yeah,
do anything alone. You cannot survive on your own. Those who have tried have not succeeded. We need each
that's
other.
right.
We need to connect. But most importantly, our connections need to be of quality, not the
Mm, mm,
quantities
mm.
that the social media has brought us today. It's not the
Yes,
quantity, it's the quality of connections that we should really be fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. And what does that involve? Like, if when I want to build a strong connection, I want to build a strong connection, let's say in my marriage or in my relationship, what are we looking for? What do I need to work on? Or what should I discuss with my coach or my counselor or therapist in terms of what I need to build?
In that case, we would probably now be talking about intimacy. In
Yeah.
especially in a marriage relationship, we'd probably be talking
Yeah.
about intimacy. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also important to know that there are different types of intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think they've identified about 5 types of intimacy. We have emotional intimacy,
Okay.
whereby, yeah, that's the first type of intimacy. And when you talk about intimacy, that's the one that most people think about.
Yes.
Uh, this is where we connect emotionally. We are able to
Mm-hmm.
share our feelings with each other openly. There is trust, there is
Mm-hmm.
bonding between two people.
Yeah.
So, asking what you need to do, you need to assess what
Mm-hmm.
is my level of emotional intimacy with my spouse. Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be a
Yeah.
good place to start.
Yes.
Then we also have other types of intimacy. We have physical intimacy, and physical
Yeah.
intimacy doesn't have to be with, even emotional intimacy doesn't have to be necessarily with your spouse. You can
Mm-hmm.
also form emotional bonds with other people, like
Yeah.
close friends, where you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing at a very deep level. You
Yeah.
trust them, there is bonding. The same with physical, of course, physical intimacy is where now there is touching, there's hugging. And if it gets to the level where we're talking about a marriage situation or a couple situation, we are looking at it going further into kissing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and even sexual intimacy. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
physical intimacy. Then there's another
Interesting.
type of intimacy, which maybe we don't talk about
Mm-hmm.
much.
What's
There
that?
is what we call intelligence, intellectual intimacy, or cognitive intimacy.
Interesting.
Yes, so this is where
Interesting.
if you have friends, you might have friends whom you connect with cognitively. You connect
Yes.
at an intellectual level, so you are able
Yes.
to discuss topical issues, agree to disagree,
Uh-huh.
express your opinion, take a stand on topical issues, and you challenge each other. And
Wow.
yeah. So imagine if you were to develop that with your spouse, that improves the level of intimacy that you have as a couple.
Uh-huh.
So then there is also what you call experiential intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So for you who is asking what you can do with your partner, with your spouse, to improve your level of connectedness, this is something that you can also work on. Experiential intimacy is whereby you build experiences together. So
Mm-hmm.
there are many things you can do here. You can set activities to be doing on a weekly basis. You can decide to go for hikes, for jogging together, or you can decide that every week we are doing a date night, or you can decide that every month we visit like the most expensive restaurant in town, or so you can build experiences,
Yes.
because when you build experiences together as a couple, it really strengthens the emotional bond. It strengthens the emotional bond, and when the emotional bond is strengthened, it strengthens all the other intellectual, intimacy needs that you may have. Then
Interesting.
finally,
Uh-huh.
finally, also for me, this is actually the most important one. That if you can bag this one with your spouse, then you would definitely be at another level. Spiritual
Mm-hmm.
intimacy.
Mm. Spiritual intimacy.
Yes, spiritual intimacy. Now, this is where this is
Look like.
at another level where you're
We've
sharing
lost you
your.
there. Daktari, we've lost you there. And guys, if you're joining me in Daktari tonight, what I would like you to do is comment down there. Let's know which kind of intimacy you are working on and how this affects your life and how this is connected to your mental health. Have you had, mental health challenges related to your marriage, to your relationship, to your dating? We are talking about very challenging times where we see people committing suicide because of the way we relate with each other, people dying and deciding, I don't want to continue anymore because of these mental health issues. And thank you so much, Daktari. Sorry, you are cut off at some point. So you are talking
Okay.
about, yeah, this intimacy, ways of connecting with each other.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we are good
Okay.
now.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm.
The internet maybe went low or something. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
was talking about the last type of intimacy, which is a spiritual intimacy.
Yes.
And I was just saying, if you can have this as a couple, then this would be really great, where you share the same spiritual, not necessarily religious, but
Mm-hmm.
spiritual connectedness, where your belief systems are the same. You believe in the same way, the same let me say the same spiritual philosophies, if I may use that
Yeah.
word for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. So yeah,
Yeah.
so those are the main types of intimacies that have been found to exist. And like, I like the way you've challenged our listeners to maybe do an audit and find out where they stand with this different types of intimacy. Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
And there are people when you're starting the relationships. I mean, life is so sweet and you are deeply connected. You can do anything for your spouse. But after some time, the glue sort of loses its power and you realize you're detaching from each other and you are alone. Although you got into this relationship with a sense of certainty, excuse me, you realize you are alone. I mean, what happens so that a couple that was so much intimate and so much in love ends up even wanting to kill each other, wanting never to see each other? Is it that people let go of, the awareness of working on these different areas of intimacy, that they totally detach from one another? What is the issue there? What do you think, Daktari? What's the issue? What is separating people? People get married, people get into a relationship. 2 years down the line, you are totally farther and farther away. And some of these things actually coming to my mind is, to some of them is lack, others it's actually abundance. That when you get blessed is when you detach from each other. Eh?
Oh my.
But others is, the lack is what kept you away from each other. I don't know. What else have you seen? Maybe some of your clients or people, that separates people. Maybe we can be a warning to someone that is in a relationship and right now it's all rosy, it's good. What is it that keeps people detached?
Okay. That's I think that's the $1 million question, because if we found an answer to that, like a
Yeah.
concrete answer to that, then we would have no problems in our marriages. There would be no divorces, there would be no separation. So
Yeah.
let me start by saying that a lot of things happen when we get married. A lot of things happen, and let me add on to the fact that um, for a marriage to work, there are so many factors to look at or to consider.
Mm-hmm.
There is need for people to invest and take care of their marriage, just
Yeah.
as well as you would be taking care of a garden or your children. So we need to invest in our marriages the same way we put the monetary investments
Mm-hmm.
for to earn from them in the future. Is the
Yeah.
same way we should plant those seeds. We should invest.
It's an investment.
Yes, we should invest in our marriages. And I'm talking from a point of the knowledge that it is not easy. And there are so
Yeah.
many other challenges that we may not even talk about in this live stream today.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I would want to add, because you asked what happens. So
Yes.
one, things change, people change, because the moment we get married, the dynamics change. Let's begin from there.
Yeah.
The dynamics change. I'm no longer the girlfriend. You the my former boyfriend is no longer the boyfriend. He now becomes a husband.
Yes.
So that dynamic that changes sometimes changes a lot of things in our thought processes, in
Mm,
our
mm,
mind.
mm, mm, mm.
So, and when people get married, there's also this major thing called expectations.
Yes.
So sometimes we get into marriage with expectations that are not expressed,
Mm-hmm.
and we do not know how to express those expectations. We imagine that the other person should know what we need.
Yes.
If communication is not our forte, like in our most of our upbringing, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the people who have been brought up in a certain generation, maybe a few families are the ones that would allow that open communication, but
Mm-hmm.
the children were hardly ever allowed to talk. You were
Yes.
raised not to talk. So we do not learn how to express our needs. So
Mm.
communication is a major, major drawback in these situations, because
Yeah.
if we were able to talk to each other openly, remember we talked about intimacy being connectedness. If we are
Yeah.
able to maintain that connectedness
Mm-hmm.
and go into the relationships with an open mind, then
Yeah.
I believe that we would probably have better chances. So
Okay.
at the core of it is expectations that are not properly expressed. And I'm not saying this is the only
By
thing.
faith,
Yeah, I'm not
we
saying this
say,
is the only
uh
thing.
yeah.
There are many other factors, but this is just one of the major factors. So poor communication skills.
So people
We
should
have
not assume
we
that
should not
the other person
assume.
knows your needs.
Exactly. We
Because that's
should
what
not.
most people say. They say, if you love me, you should know. You should know what I need.
No, nobody is a mind reader. Nobody
Yeah.
is a mind reader. But then there are also cases where somebody will tell you, but I've told them my needs, I've told them my expectations, and they're not responding to them. I have clearly stated, I have even written down. So there are also those cases where that's why I was saying it's not just this. There are so many other factors at play.
Mm,
But for the
mm.
sake of today's live, because we were talking about intimacy, if we can work on our intimacy needs, it will make things a lot better, because once we get married, we assume things are going to remain the same. Things cannot remain the same because the day-to-day business also catches up with us. There are bills to pay. There are probably children to raise. There's rent or mortgages to be paid. So all these
Yeah.
things interfere, and we end up not concentrating on ourselves, we as a couple. So
Yeah.
in a nutshell, that with regard to our topic today, if we can build our intimacy, it will go a long way in helping us, solve some of the
Brilliant.
struggles we are seeing in our marriages. Yes.
That's brilliant. I'm thinking, does, age deplete intimacy? Like, do we expect a certain age, like when you get to 70s, 80s, we don't expect you to be intimate? There's no intimacy there. You're just
Oh my
waiting on the Lord.
goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, I have not reached there yet, but it
Yeah.
should get better.
Oh, it should get
Remember,
better.
it
Awesome.
should get better because remember, I talked about investment. If we did the investment early, or at
Yeah.
some point we come to the awareness that, hey, this is important, we need to work on this. We care for each other, we fell in love, we love each other, we started this relationship, there are children involved. So are we making this relationship work? If we plant those seeds and we fight for our marriages, and I'm talking about a regular situation, because there are other marriages that I would not even myself advise people to stay in, especially like
Hmm.
where we are talking about intimate partner violence and such like things. It would not be healthy to stay in such a marriage, because one of you is going to die.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So we are talking about under regular circumstances. So I believe intimacy should get better as we grow older if we planted the seeds. The problem is we might not be planting the seeds, we might not be tending our garden, and yet we
Hmm.
expect things to get better. But
Yeah.
the disclaimer is there are still people who do that and the marriages still break. Like I said, there are so many other reasons why marriages break and why intimacy levels don't improve as we grow older. Yes.
A bottom line is it's our responsibility to really build on intimacy. We should not expect that it cannot be done just by faith that, okay, if God wants me to be intimate, He will make me.
No.
I don't. It's our personal responsibility. And I look at people admiring couples and saying, oh, I wish mine was like that. It's actually work. It's
It's work.
work. It's
It's
labor.
a
Love is
lot of
labor.
work. Love
Yeah.
is labor. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work. Yeah. You look at your neighbor's yard and it looks very green. You
Yes.
have no idea the water bill, the tending that goes into that.
Yes.
So
I like
love
that.
is labor. Love is labor. I
Yeah.
like that statement. Love is labor. There is need for us to do the best that we can.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much, Daktari. And those who are joining us online would like to know you are here. What is it that you are connecting with? And what's your takeaway from this conversation? No matter what time you're watching this, we'd like you to give us down there a comment. Let us know where you're listening from and how does this relate to you, where you are, your dreams, your mindset, your own mental health and intimacy. And Daktari, now let's
Yes.
mental health and intimacy.
Mhm.
The how what is the connection there?
Okay, there we can look at the connection from two perspectives. We can look at the benefits of intimacy. How does intimacy improve our mental wellness? Like
Awesome.
what is in it for us
Yeah,
in terms of mental wellness?
yeah.
And we can actually look at it from the different level, the different types of intimacy. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I mentioned when we were starting that studies have found that those who have healthy and intimate relationships have better
Mm-hmm.
mental wellness. I mean, mental
Yeah,
health. They have better
yeah,
mental health. This is
yeah.
scientific. This has been proven. I
Mm-hmm.
think there was even a study that found that men who are married live longer than those who are not married.
Mm.
So that
Wow.
tells you that there is some mental health benefit just with the connectedness and the intimacy. Now, the
Yes.
other thing, the other point that has also been scientifically proven through the studies that have been done is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that when we are in intimate or strong relationships,
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember I said intimacy doesn't have to be just with the couples who are married, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So it can be with your friends and even acquaintances. You can be getting your intimacy needs from different people, because you might not
Mm-hmm.
get them from one person. So
Yeah.
when you have strong relationships, there is what you call psychosocial support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, this has been found to improve mental wellness because it cushions you when you go through difficult times. So, in
Mm.
case you go through a difficult moment, you have that support. So, support has been found to cushion people from developing mental illness. Because, for example, if you
Yeah.
go through a loss, if it's not managed properly, you might end up maybe developing complicated grief. You might end up even
That's true.
developing depression. But when you
Mm.
have the support through the intimate relationship, the strong relationships around you, then it cushions you, it protects. So it protects you. So it acts as a protective factor. So that's the
Mm.
second benefit. It acts as a
Mm-hmm.
protective
Mm-hmm.
factor for mental
Yeah.
illness.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the physical intimacy. The
Mm-hmm.
physical intimacy, a hug. A hug feels so good. It's healing. There are times when people just want a hug after going through a difficult time. It is
Yeah.
healing. It just improves your mental wellness. And you talked about children earlier on. You talked about babies who don't get the human touch. They don't
Yeah.
thrive. This has
Mm-hmm.
also been proven amongst premature babies, where they
Mm-hmm.
now encourage the physical contact between that child and the mother. They found that that makes the babies heal and thrive better than those who don't get the
Amazing.
physical, yeah, the physical connection. So the physical connection has scientifically proven benefits. So when you look
And
at
and and and, and Dr. Maybe I pause you there, and I'm thinking with most of my generation and people, just before my generation, we didn't have that physical touch because in our culture you don't have that.
no,
Like even your mom hugging you, it
no,
feels weird as a young man. And yet it's a human need. Actually, you depend on it for you to survive. It's almost like
absolutely.
your emotional wholeness and health actually is built. And I know people, not, right now, this generation, now my generation saw it, and we are so connected with our kids. We pray with them, hold their hands, hug them. I hug my kids on a daily basis, morning, evening, new time. It is connection, because we
Yes.
know what we didn't have. And this is a generation of a lot has happened in our generation. I mean, in terms of mental health, because of that disconnect. Someone just dies without ever knowing what killed them. I mean, and I don't know. What would you say to that, Daktari?
Now, when it comes to the physical, I was giving the benefit of the physical touch,
Yeah.
and you've explained it very well. So you can see where we're coming from, the older generation, where we didn't have that physical touch, and we are raising this generation. So we hope that this is going to yield, better results, because we are raising our children with a lot of touching and hugging and kissing, which some of us did not get from our
Yes.
parents. So
Yes. Yes.
that is important.
Even from our parents, some of us did get.
We did not get that. How
Yeah.
do it was not the norm, because there was that culturally. There are even cultures right now where you cannot touch your parent. Like they touch you from afar. So
Yes.
it's more or less cultural. Excuse me.
Yeah. Bless.
Yeah. Then so the other aspect of physical touch that I wanted to talk about briefly before I go to your question, where you've asked
Hmm.
why people just die suddenly. Now the other
Hmm.
aspect is the sexual intimacy, which is part of the physical intimacy. uh,
Yes.
course, sex has been found to have, benefits. And of course, for me, within the confines of marriage, because if it's outside the confines of marriage, it comes with a lot more emotional baggage that maybe the person engaging is not prepared to handle. So sex
Yeah.
within the confines of marriage has amazing benefits. It releases what we call neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, which go
Amen.
on
Let
to
me
even
take note.
take
Mm-hmm.
they go to reduce the
Yeah.
stress hormone cortisol.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
reduce the stress hormone in the system. When these neurotransmitters go high in the system, they reduce the stress hormone. One. Number two, they've been found to temporarily relieve depression. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's another benefit to that. And then thirdly, there is the benefit that comes with it because these feel good factors, the happy hormones
Mm,
have been released. You get to
mm,
sleep better, and it's also an exercise. So you get to burn a
yes.
few calories. So you can
Yes.
see that aspect of physical intimacy is beneficial to us mentally. So those are just some of the advantages of intimacy. When you have a good connectedness with another person, those are some of the benefits that you get. And if you don't have good connectedness, so you can see what COVID-19 robbed us of: the
Yes.
connectedness, because we were not connecting with friends. And during that time, we saw an escalation in anxiety disorder, in depression. And I'll tie that to the question that you have raised, that we're finding our people just dying. Then you don't know why they have died, and when you dig a little bit deeper, you might realize that maybe they had a mental illness that they didn't know, or they didn't talk about, and maybe they've even committed suicide. So those that whatever is happening now in the field of mental illness, to me, I would say it's closely connected to what COVID-19 did to us. It robbed us of
Mm,
human
mm,
connectedness. And
mm,
it also came with a lot of economic challenges. So it increased our stress levels. So again, it's important for us to raise awareness about mental illness. There is nothing
yeah.
to be ashamed of when you have mental illness. Seek help when you feel overwhelmed. Talk to somebody when you feel overwhelmed. It is not a sign of weakness. Even for Christians, you can still develop mental illness. It is not that you have little faith. So, this is what we should advocate for. And I encourage all the listeners to hearken to this. If you know somebody who is suffering from mental illness, it could be anxiety, high stress levels, depression, or anything else that is off, encourage them to talk to a professional. Yeah, so
Yeah.
if we don't do this, then we find people losing their lives because of mental illness, which should not be the case.
Mm, wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Daktari. I'm learning so much and taking so many notes here. And the
I'm glad.
realization, yeah, that these are things we can work on.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know from where we got the idea that there's any shame to be linked to sex, especially within marriage, because most people, even couple to couple, they don't want to have that conversation. It's almost like a taboo. And you're married. I know, couples that come to me and they can't have that conversation about sex. It's actually weird for them, and they've been married for 10 years. But the conversation is so sex is something you have in the dark. It is like you're running away from something. So it doesn't equal to pleasure. It's almost like pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate, and and I pray that people listening to us or watching this, later after the show, you may, look at your spouse and this opportunity you have differently, and your healing can actually be linked to what you're calling shame. And some of these things our culture has shamed uh, is actually part of life, and enjoyment of our relationships, creating that intimacy will actually empower you so that when you go out there, you're truly unstoppable. Because
Mm-hmm.
this inner circle, this is where we get our fuel. And so
Absolutely.
if there is no other place where you go to refuel, you go to really get your strength back, then this world can really beat you up. Because if you're beaten at home and all that, and this is a collaborative assignment. It's something you cannot leave to one person.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot leave to one. You cannot hope that the lady will work on it. You cannot hope that the guy will work on it. It has to be a collaborative assignment. And
True.
sometimes, Daktari, women feel the man is the one benefiting. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, you're the one benefiting from sex, not me. And his food is like, when the man is making efforts for sex, is like you're being, it's a selfish thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
a selfish thing. And they, most women, well, some, I've read several stories here and there, they are looking at it as though this is a man's thing, is not
Mm-hmm.
my thing. And I don't know where we can come from to see it as a collaborative, a collaboration between the two parties.
Well, you've raised pertinent issues there. First, you started by asking, where does this all come from? Why the shame? Why the problems with intimacy? So these problems, most of the time, they come from our childhood experiences, our past experiences. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
may find that people who are uncomfortable with intimacy, there are several things that they may have gone through in their past. And top of the list is abuse.
Mm,
Who could have
okay.
been abuse, some
Yes.
level of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It could be sexual, it could be physical. So any physical touch, any physical engagement with another person, especially with a man,
Mm-hmm.
becomes a nightmare for them if they do
Mm-hmm.
not talk to a professional and process the painful feelings and emotions behind it. So, at the top
Mm-hmm.
of the list of the causes of problems of maybe intimacy, in a
Yeah.
case where people are having issues in intimacy, especially when we're talking about physical intimacy and emotional intimacy, we go
Mm-hmm.
back. In my line of work. We go back to the past experiences because we want to go to the
Mm-hmm.
root of the problem so that we help this person come out of the schemas that they have formed, the patterns that they
Yeah.
have formed in their mind, the stories that they are telling themselves about
Mm,
sex. So it
yes.
could be the abuse, it could also be how people were raised.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Mm-hmm.
how did you first hear about sex? How did you first learn about sex? Was it in
Mm,
high school, in the dorm from your friends, or was it by your parents telling you, oh, sex is sin and it is wrong, it is dirty? So it depends on how you first learned about sex, your first experiences with sex. So that can also inform how a
mhm.
woman responds to sexual intimacy, for example. And
Yeah.
it's not like there is no hope. There is hope. You can talk to a
Mm,
professional
mm.
and you can overcome whatever challenges that you may have in whatever level of
Oh,
intimacy, whether it is
oh,
sexual or physical or emotional, at an emotional level. So there is abuse, there is
mm,
the way somebody was raised, and then there could also be neglect. People went through neglect. Maybe the parents were neglectful. So there was no emotional connection with the parent. There was no attachment to the parent. So they don't know how to attach in their adulthood, because in our adulthood we use the same attachment patterns that we built as children. How we attach to our parents and the people close to us, our caregivers. That is the
Yeah.
same pattern we're going to mimic when we are older. So there's neglect, abuse, childhood experiences, and there could be others like a chaotic environment where there was physical abuse. There was intimate partner violence. They witnessed that, so they formed this opinion that men are brutes, men are
Yes.
brutal. So, and
Yeah.
they just take. So there's a lot. So when we are working with these clients, what we do is we go back and find out what has this person's past experiences been like. Then we take them through the journey of relearning. We help them to restructure their thought patterns so that they can have a different lens to look at whatever they are struggling with, whatever level of intimacy they are struggling with. Yes.
Interesting. Wow. Wow. Guys, do you feel like your lenses, like you're putting on new glasses tonight? I want to hear that, and I want to hear from you and get to know how are you interacting with this content. How are you? And by the way, at the end of this meeting, you can connect with Dr. Akoth. You leave the contact down there. You can go for a consultation session courtesy of this show and get to know where you are, because some of us get used to our story. We believe that this is the world, this is the way it's supposed to be. Women are not supposed to enjoy pleasure, or men are not supposed to care, or it's just a story, like Dr. Akoth is saying. It's your story. You believed it, you created it, you've owned it. Now, with the help of a professional, you can create a new story. You can create a new story, one that is empowering, one that can set you free. And I tell you, life is too short to suffer. That's what I tell people. Life is too short to suffer. Why would I, be under this cloud, for the rest of my life? It's one thing for me as a child to be under a certain cloud of not knowing myself and not really getting what I deserve. But once you're past 18, you are an adult. Now you can live life by your terms. And like Dr. said, there are options. We cannot stand and say there's no hope. No, 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 no. No matter how deep you've fallen, you can rise up again. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Dr. for sharing. Wow, this is such an interesting topic. I feel we will not be able to exhaust today, but we have next week. We can come here again and look at some of these issues even on a deeper level. So fearing to connect. Like there are people that it's totally terror. They're so afraid. Think about it. Even as we have this conversation, maybe you're feeling some electricity in your body. You're just like, no, 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 no. For me, no. And then we make these conclusions. We are really afraid to be intimate. So you've said that people can come, they can book a session, they can see a professional, and we are going to leave your number down there. They and a link they can really get help. But right now, what can someone that is terrified? Maybe like you say, they were abused when they were small, or they witnessed their parents going through tough, time in their relationships, and they made a decision, to disconnect totally. And I know a few people that really their childhood messed up their life totally. Is there something someone listening to us today can immediately do to begin to, I know it's a journey, to begin to take the path, especially for those who are in a relationship or you are dating, to begin to walk towards intimacy? What is it that is it forgiveness? Is it acceptance? Is it Is it just the awareness? What is it? What is that first thing they can do right now or today to take them on that journey? What comes to your mind, Daktari?
Thank you, Jeff. That's a very good question, and it can help somebody start the journey.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing to do is to be aware. I think at
Yeah,
the core of it all
yeah,
is the awareness.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the reason we're even having these conversations is for people to become aware that, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you went through this, it's not the end of the world. There is something that can be done. So the
Yeah,
awareness
yeah.
is important. Then just the acknowledgement, just the
Mm-hmm.
acknowledgement that yes, this
Mm-hmm.
actually happened to me and it has affected me in this and this and this way. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that,
Mm-hmm.
then to do you so much good to talk
Mm-hmm.
to a professional if this has been something that is standing in your way, that is holding you back. Because our past experiences, like Jeff, our past experiences, our beliefs hold us back in so many
Mm.
areas of our lives, not just the
That's right.
professional life. It can hold us back in our intimacy, in our intimacy areas of life. It can hold our relationships back. So one, the awareness which we have helped to create here, so I hope this
Yes.
has enlightened somebody. Two, the
Mm-hmm.
acceptance and the
Mm-hmm.
acknowledgement. And
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to encourage you to be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Be kind to
Oh,
yourself.
I
Don't
like
be
that.
too hard on yourself.
Mm.
Like Jeff said, life is too short. Don't be too
Mm-hmm.
hard on yourself. Be kind to yourself. And then,
Mm-hmm.
in the kindness, do yourself a major favor of seeking professional help. I know
Yeah.
these are not things that people think they can seek professional help about. When you
Mm-hmm.
come to a professional like Jeff and I, it's not because you're running mad on the streets. No,
That's true.
we
That's
help
true.
you navigate your life. We help
Mm-hmm.
you figure out things that are going on in your life and how you can do things in a better way. We help
Mm-hmm.
you unknot some of the knots that they unstuck you in the areas that you're stuck. So that's what
Yeah.
it's all about. Yeah. So do not feel ashamed to seek support from somebody who is a professional, somebody who will help you to walk the journey. Then, of course, I believe from there you will get your breakthrough.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Daktari. Thank you for sharing so openly and so deeply, these ideas of just getting closer and closer to that place where we can heal our relationships, where we can create this sense of intimacy. Guys, now it's in your hands. You can call that number down there and book a consultation session with the doctor or myself and get help today. It's never too late, but unless you make that decision, no one will make it for you. And begin to be kind with yourself. The doctor said that, be kind to yourself and begin to show yourself that self love and by taking action. So thank you so much. We will stop there for today, and we will continue this conversation as we move on. Um, the number is right there on your screen, and we'll be posting it uh, on the chat below on this video, so you can actually get help. Thank you and God bless you. Any parting shot, Daktari, as we end this conversation?
The parting shot I would give is just for us to realize that there is no health without mental health. The WHO has made that very clear. That is a potent and a very loaded statement.
Yeah,
A lot of times we relegate our mental health to the side, but there is
yeah.
no health without mental health. So take care of
Mm,
your mental
mm,
wellness.
mm,
Yes.
mm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Daktari, and looking forward to host you again very, very soon. Next Friday, guys, make sure you tell your friends 7 p.m. We are right here live on
Thank
this
you.
channel. Yeah, and looking forward to have to continue this conversation. So this is a comma, it's not a full stop. And for those who are online, please make sure you connect with Daktari. Have your consultation session, free consultation session, courtesy of this show. If you are watching the show, you get the first session for you will be courtesy of this show, free for you, just to get aligned. So that's a gift from this show. Thank you so much. God bless you. And
Thank you very
good.
much. Thank you all who tuned in. Thank you, Jeff, for having
Thank
me on
you.
the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and God bless.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.